Level 1. Negative balance. The number on your screen has a minus sign in front of it. You stare at it like it might change if you look long enough. It doesn't. You overdrafted by $6. Just $6. A streaming charge you forgot was still active. The bank doesn't care that it was $6. The bank cares about the math. And the math says you went under. $35. That's the fee. The penalty for being broke is that you become more broke. The fee is bigger than the mistake. You stare at it and feel something that isn't anger, just exhausted. Then another charge processes. A $16 subscription you never got around to canceling. The system sees you're already negative and charges you another $35. Now you owe $80 to a bank that just took $35 from a $6 mistake. You try to call. The hold music loops 4 times. A voice answers, reads from a script, tells you fees can't be reversed at this time. You ask to speak to a manager. The voice says someone will follow up within 48 hours. Nobody follows up. The next morning, your rent payment fails. The landlord charges an $80 late fee. Your internet bill bounces and adds another $30. The math you couldn't fix at $6 is now $225 deep and growing in directions you didn't authorize. You skip lunch on Thursday, not by choice. You walk past the spot you usually grab food and keep walking like you had somewhere better to be. Your coworker asks if you want to grab something after the shift. You say you ate earlier. You didn't. Hunger at this level isn't physical. It's quiet. It's the kind nobody notices because you've learned to perform fine. You walk into the branch on a Friday afternoon. The teller glances at her screen and something in her face adjusts in a way you recognize. Not anger. Not sympathy. Something colder. You watch yourself stop being a person on her monitor and start being a flag, a category, a risk score with a debit card. You leave without saying what you came to say. Because somewhere between the $6 and the unreturned follow-up and the unpaid rent, you stopped feeling like a customer. You started feeling like an inconvenience. Level 2, $200. You're not negative anymore. You clawed the account back. 18 hours of overtime to keep $200 positive for 1 week. You did it. Nobody acknowledged it. Nobody noticed. The bank notices, but not the way you'd want. The maintenance fee hits anyway. $13, sometimes $15, quietly withdrawn like it was always supposed to be there. The minimum to avoid it is $1,500. You don't have $1,500, so the fee stays. You are paying a bank to hold the money you barely have. You log in and watch it disappear overnight. No message, no notification. The system doesn't explain, it executes. You apply for a credit card, they offer you a secured one. You have to deposit $300 of your own money so they can lend it back to you at 26% interest. You read the offer twice. They want your money to give you credit from your own money. You pass on it, which means when your radiator cracks on a Wednesday morning, you can't put it on plastic. You take 3 buses to work and arrive an hour and a half late. Your manager doesn't fire you. He just holds eye contact a little longer than usual. You walk into the branch to ask about the fee. The teller ahead of you is chatting with the previous customer, laughing about something on the weekend. When you step forward, the energy settles into something professional and practiced. She processes your request in under a minute. Doesn't ask if there's anything else. Doesn't say, "Have a nice one." The next person steps up and the warmth returns like a light switched back on. You push through the door and feel something that doesn't have a clean name. You weren't turned away. You weren't mistreated. You were just processed, like a form. Like a transaction, like something the system needed to move along. The bank doesn't see you as a customer at $200. The bank doesn't see you at all. You exist on their ledger. You don't exist in their attention. Level 3, $2,000. Something changed. Not in your life. In the way the bank responds to yours. Your direct deposit lands every 2 weeks. $1,650 after taxes. Consistent. On schedule. The 6 months of that pattern is the only thing about you that actually interests the algorithm. The maintenance fee disappears, not because you disputed it. The system detected your direct deposit and removed it automatically. The first time you notice, you check again to make sure it isn't an error. The same fee that quietly drained your account for years just stopped existing. Nothing about you changed except your behavior now matches a profile the bank can monetize, so they let you hold on to yours. The credit card offers start arriving. Real ones this time, not secured. Actual cards with $2,500 limits and 22% interest. The same institution that declined you 8 months ago is now sending envelopes with your name printed in embossed lettering, pre-approved. Like you became a different person without changing a single thing about yourself. You apply for one, approved in 2 minutes. The notification lands and feels off somehow. The same system that processed you like luggage at $200 just said yes to you at $2,000. You didn't change. The number did. You walk into the branch and the teller greets you before you reach the window. Not the warmth she gives to someone with six figures, but not the silence she gave you at $200 either. Something in the middle. Acknowledgement without investment. Service without interest. The zone where most people quietly spend their financial lives. You apply for a small personal loan. $5,500 for repairs. Approved in 48 hours. The rate is 12%. Not ideal. Not unreasonable. The process worked the way the brochure always said it would. You start to understand something nobody spelled out for you. The bank doesn't care who you are. The bank cares what your account reflects. And at $2,000, your account looks like something worth marketing to. You're no longer invisible. You're not valued either. You're a revenue opportunity. Level 4, $15,000. You open the app one morning and notice the credit limit updated. $4,500 had become $10,000. You didn't request it. You didn't apply. The bank just decided you were worth more room. 2 days later, the phone rings. A real person. Your bank has assigned you a relationship banker. He says his name twice and gives you his direct line. He asks about your goals, your time frame, your savings picture. He wants 15 minutes on your calendar. The same institution that looped you through hold music for 45 minutes at $200 is now dialing you on a Tuesday morning before you've had coffee. The rate on your next loan drops. You finance a used car, and when the dealer runs your credit, the rate that would have been 12% at $2,000 comes back at 6.9% at $15,000. Money got cheaper, not because you negotiated harder, because you stopped registering as a liability. A fee appears on your statement. $34. You send your banker a message. 3 hours later, it's gone. No hold music, no form submission, no script, just a reply that reads, "Taken care of." The same fees that used to compound against you are now optional extras. The bank quietly removes to keep you comfortable. You start getting emails with your name in the subject line. Small personalization. The bank is warming up to you. Not dramatically, gradually. The way someone acts when they'd rather you didn't leave. You realize something that nobody at the lower levels could have told you. The bank wasn't hostile when you were struggling. The bank was indifferent, and indifference applied at scale looks almost identical to cruelty. You're not a client they serve. You're a client they retain. Level 5. $80,000. The bank calls you a preferred client now. The word is on your statements, on the landing screen, when you log in. In the email signature of the man who manages your account, you didn't earn the title. The balance did. Your relationship banker stops feeling like a role and starts feeling like a person. A man named Marcus who remembers that you have a brother in Atlanta because you said it in passing 11 months ago. He messages on your birthday, not from an automation. Typed. The detail isn't accidental. It's part of how he's trained to operate because familiarity keeps accounts open. You walk into the branch, and someone rises from a desk to meet you before you reach the counter. Not the teller. Someone with a nameplate and a private office. They bring you around the waiting area where everyone else is standing, the same area you stood in at $200, not knowing there was another path through. A letter arrives. Not for a credit card, a pre-approval for a $425,000 mortgage. The bank decided what you were ready to borrow before you decided you wanted to buy anything. They want the transaction before you've even picked a neighborhood. The price of money is no longer a number you brace yourself for. It's a number they lead with to impress you. Your banker calls to mention a competing institution reached out to him on your behalf, offering better savings rates. He says he can beat it. The bank that once processed you without making eye contact is now negotiating to keep your business. The bank doesn't see you as preferred at $80,000. The bank sees you as worth protecting. Level 6, $500,000. The bank stops being a building you walk into. It becomes a service that arrives at yours. Marcus no longer sends emails. Marcus calls, and when he calls, he isn't catching up. He's introducing a colleague who specializes in wealth management. Colleague comes to your office, sits at your table, brings bound reports in a structured folder, asks about your objectives, your timeline, your tax approach, your estate intentions. The meeting runs 90 minutes and at the end, nothing is sold. He leaves a card and says he'll send a summary. The selling already happened in the way the conversation was structured. You just didn't register it at the time. You're no longer being offered products, you're being consulted. The distinction is quiet but real. A product is what the bank wants to move. A consultation is what the bank wants you to depend on, and dependence over years is worth more than any single transaction. You call about a wire that stalled. Someone picks up on the second ring. No cue, no script. The issue is resolved before you hang up. The same problem at $2,000 would have cost you an afternoon and 4 transfers. You receive an invitation to a private dinner the bank puts together. 9 clients, a speaker, a rooftop view of the city you've never seen from that height. Nobody discusses money across the table all evening. Money is what made the table exist. It's not the conversation. You're not a customer at $500,000. You're an asset the institution actively manages. Level 7, $5 million. Private banking. The phrase sounds similar to wealth management, but it isn't. Wealth management is a tier. Private banking is an arrangement, and arrangements don't follow standard pricing. They replace it. You no longer have a banker. You have a private banker, a designation that means something internal to the institution. He carries fewer than 20 accounts. Yours is one of them. He knows your children's names. He knows about the property project you mentioned over lunch last February because he wrote it down after you left. The interest rate on your next mortgage isn't listed anywhere. It's discussed. The investment threshold on a private opportunity is waived because the relationship makes it reasonable. The compliance process that takes a regular customer 3 weeks moves in 5 days because someone communicated whose account it involves. You walk into a branch across the country and they greet you by name before you produce ID. A banker introduces himself at the door. The system has flagged your profile across every location not because of visibility, because of standing. You exist in a database that surfaces you before you ask. You sit in a room with no branding on the door. One long table, single piece of wood. The deal being described will not appear in any public document. The room was built for conversations that don't happen in the main building. It opens when the account justifies it. The bank doesn't follow the standard rules at $5 million. The bank adjusts them for you. Level 8, $30 million. You don't have a banker anymore. You have a relationship, and the distance between those two words is the distance between this level and every level that came before it. Your relationship is a line item in someone's internal performance review. Your account leaving would affect careers. The institution doesn't work to keep you. The institution reorganizes quietly to avoid losing you. 4 people inside the bank exist in part because of your account. They don't know that. You don't either. But the arithmetic is real. Nothing comes from a menu at this level. Nothing comes from a catalog. Every offer is written for one person. Your name is in the draft before the terms are finalized. The rate on a loan isn't a number they look up. It's a number they call you about. The structure of an investment is built around your entry before you've agreed to enter. You don't apply for access at $30 million. Access is assembled before you request it. Investments reach you before the broader market sees them. Deals are structured with your involvement assumed before you've confirmed anything. But what actually shifts at this level isn't the access, it's the weight. The bank doesn't only serve you, the bank asks you things. The chief investment officer mentions wanting your read on a particular sector. The head of private banking schedules a trip to discuss what their next tier of clients should expect from the institution. You are influencing the bank that once charged you $35 for falling $6 short. The bank doesn't have a customer at $30 million. The bank has a stakeholder, and the stakeholder has a name, yours. Somewhere right now, someone is staring at a minus sign in front of their balance. They went over by $6. A streaming charge they forgot was still running. The fee hits before they finish reading the notification. $35. They sit with it. They feel something that isn't quite anger, just worn down. They call the number on the back of the card. The hold music runs. A voice answers, delivers a script, explains that fees cannot be reversed at this time. They don't know yet that the system isn't failing them. The system is doing exactly what it was designed to do. The same institution that will one day travel to ask their opinion on a sector allocation is currently charging them for having $6 less than they needed. You are the same person at every balance. The bank just decides what you're worth based on the number beside your name. The bank doesn't transform at every level. The bank just stops hiding what it always was.